Gashamaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads, episode 293. We're going to be talking tonight about live streaming. This one actually came to us from a listener who was questioning what has happened in the world of live streaming, because it was one of those things that was all hot for a while and then it dropped off, and so many of the apps are gone now. So he just didn't know what was going on and wanted us to touch on it again. So we've got my co-host Chris of the Northwest back as usual. And
Yes.
we've got a well-known periscoper, and a lot of you probably know him from the GIF as well, and that's C. Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you, Daryl. Welcome.
And thank you for joining us from down under at what sounds like it's actually a pleasant time of day.
Oh, it's a beautiful day today. It's 11 o'clock on Friday morning, so I'm in the future for you guys, and the future's looking very, very nice.
Great weather at least, huh?
Oh, it's gorgeous weather. Absolutely gorgeous weather, as always here in Sydney.
Love it. I'm a little jealous. It's been, by my estimations, too hot here. But you know what? We live in an air-conditioned Northwest, and we complain when the temperatures get to 90, and then we complain when it rains, and we complain when we complain a lot. Somehow that never seems to change the weather.
Yeah, but I thought that was supposed to be the job of the Northeast, not the Northwest.
Oh, the Northeasterners.
Yes, and Midwest, but
well, this time once it hits officially summer, you've got to go do everything you've wanted to do for the last 6 to 8 months in this short period of time before the rains hit again.
Right.
So it seems like every weekend there's some sort of GeoCoin challenge or a new Geo tour that's opening.
Some kind of festival, all those events.
Yeah, exactly.
See, how you guys are just bragging. We don't have that in Australia.
You don't have summer?
Well, we have summer, but we don't have all those geocaching events. We don't have all those coins. We don't have all the TBs like you guys do.
But you've got geocaching.com.au.
No. Anyway, we'll leave it at
that. Well.
Yes.
All right. Chris, we actually got a letter from one of our listeners, one of our patrons, actually, that I thought would kick it off and kind of shape some of our discussions tonight.
Now, from what I understand, Team Mavaju is not all that far from you. Am I right, C. Michelle?
No, not that far at all. In actual fact, it's too close. But anyway.
So is he hiding in the other room and you just can't tell us?
It wouldn't surprise me if he's got hidden cameras somewhere in my house yet.
Is it more of a stalking thing? Do we need to get authorities involved?
Well, no. I normally do my own sort of authority thing by blocking people here and there from different social media. So it's all good. I can handle myself.
Okay. He starts off in his email. It says, on the topic of live streaming, it's not my favorite one. And there's an extra U somehow in the word favorite. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Favorite.
He's Dutch. So.
Oh, yeah. He goes on, they start at inconvenient times, the images are shaky, and the wind is interfering. The topic is often more about the ego and social interaction of the person in front of the camera. Barely any background information on the area or cache. You need a certain kind of personality which can keep talking and talking and talking, otherwise you will lose the audience. I've compared them with DJs on popular music radio stations, which give away cheap prizes to the sixth caller. Personally, I prefer non-live style of video where there's a real presentation and given background information on the area and the cache. Yes, they take a long time to make, but they are so much better. Compare this with the proper documentary on news and current affairs shows. But different viewers have different preferences, and as long as there's a sixth caller and cheap prizes to give away, these live streams will be there. And listening to some good music is not that bad, even with the talk in between. Maybe even win a prize.
Well, one of the things that this made me think about was how we've mentioned this, I'm sure, on some of the other shows. The reports that I've been hearing is that the number of live streams is dropped dramatically since Facebook Live opened up to the masses. Not, the number of live streaming apps has dropped, because that's dropped as well. But Periscope has dropped in numbers, and even the Facebook Live isn't making up for those lost viewers. So what really struck me was that the prize kind of stuff that he's talking about, a lot of the stuff that I've seen and heard about on Facebook are these live streams of people trying to sell stuff, like the Tupperwares, the nail stuff, the diet stuff. They're talking for a while, they're giving away the prizes, and I wonder if that junk, it might have contributed to the downfall that we saw of live streaming as it had been.
Definitely. People want to watch live streaming for the actual topics, for the area, for the location. They don't want to watch it to win prizes. I don't believe, anyway. Like, to win prizes and stuff, yeah, it's all well and good, but it's not the be all and end all of it. So yeah, Darryl, I fully agree with you. That's probably one of the reasons why that it's actually gone down quite a fair bit. They've cheapened it, basically. They've cheapened the whole idea of it.
Yeah, I think that's what it's become, is just another venue for advertising, and it's kind of turned people off, especially when it's in your timeline, your Facebook feeds, whatever. It's there in your face constantly. It's like, oh, another ad. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. And it's exactly the same. I've noticed with Facebook's made a change as well with just general videos. If you're going through your feed on Facebook and you're watching a video, it'll come up, it'll say pausing for an ad, and then it'll come up with an ad halfway through the video. Have you noticed that at all?
I'm not on Facebook, so
no. Yeah, no, they've changed it quite a bit. So there's ads now within the actual ads. So it's pretty bad.
That's
yeah, they're embedded within the content, so you can't,
yes. You can't skip through them. No,
zone out for a few moments while the ad plays.
And normally the ad plays in the right at the point of time where you want to watch that particular part of the video, right at the pinnacle point where you got to wait for the ad to finish before you can watch the part of the video that you want to see.
Yeah, they probably have some automated metrics that tell them, okay, this is the best spot because this is where people are the most interested. So yes, that's when they do it.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's not the only reason, though. One of the things that we liked with like Periscope was that you had the interaction when you're doing the live stream, so your audience could talk to you. And with things like YouTube and Twitch, I think, is doing the same thing. You can't actually talk back and forth. It's a one-way. It's a monologue.
Yeah. See, and that's what I like about Periscope. Even Instagram Live as well. That's not too bad because they do have that option there where you can chat to the broadcaster themselves. Ask them questions, for instance. Like, oh, what's geocaching? That's one of the most questions I get is, what's geocaching about? What's this geocaching you're talking about? And the amount of people that I've actually sort of muggles that have now geocaches because of Periscope alone is just incredible. I mean, I know one young lady, her name's Coast Blue, and she started because she watched my Periscopes first and then started geocaching after that. There's another one, Divine Angel, down in Melbourne, exactly the same. Watched my live Periscopes, found out what geocaching was, and then downloaded it from there. So that's where they get it from too.
So your viewers that were muggles have become cachers because of your videos.
Yeah, well, they've told me. They've messaged me privately later on and said, because I always ask them, how did you become geocachers? It's one of the most questions for everyone to ask. And when they turn around, they said, I saw it live on Periscope, Semi-Shell. He was the first one I saw. Or even some people say, oh, I heard about it in the mothers group. I then started researching it. And then obviously if they're in Australia, a lot of my videos come up first. And then, they go from there.
So are all your videos about geocaching, or are you casting a wider net to hit multiple points in social media?
No, pretty much just geocaching. That's I don't know. I can't go too further than that. I mean, initially before geocaching, I started to do videos with fishing, like actual kayak fishing and stuff as well. And there's a few videos on my older ones on my YouTube channel. Some which I should take down, but anyway. So I started with that sort of broadcasting style. Then as soon as I found geocaching, and see, I started like my live videos and YouTube from Josh, the geocaching vlogger, and GeoPat92. They're the first two guys, vloggers that I actually saw, and thought, why not I can do this as well? This is great. It seems fun, you know. And my kids actually got me into it too. So yeah, it was good.
Nice. Well, Frank Freezer, I'm sorry, I don't know your geocaching name, says I like
Bucks Down Under.
Oh, thank you. I like to see Michelle's periscopes as he promotes the Aussie bush and some awesome locations for people out of Australia. He has a great following. So there you go. Yeah, I find it interesting that people would watch a video about geocaching not knowing anything about it.
Yes. Well, that's the thing with Periscope. I find with Periscope, it's just an app, and it's a live app. So people can watch, and I find a lot of US viewers when they do, because you guys in the US, for some reason, you got this undoubtedly love with Australia, which is great. You know, it's like, you know, oh, show us a kangaroo, show us a koala, show us your snakes, you know, that sort of thing. And it's great, and I love to promote that sort of side of things. And I do find that probably about a good 80% of my viewers are from the US. You know, and that's a big number compared to sort of even my local viewers here. There's only a handful here that are local that watch me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I just assume you have a kangaroo in your backyard. I mean, all Australians?
Oh, I've got a concrete one maybe, but that's about it.
No, I personally want to do a trip to Australia. It's on my bucket list. But yeah, there is a love affair, at least in the last few years, with Americans and Australians.
Yes.
And I think Americans look at it as one of the last frontiers is Australia.
Yes.
You know, it seems so, you can go out into the bush and it's so untouched.
That's right. And you find people like, you know, Chris Hemsworth, for instance, you know, and good actors that come from Australia, they do make it big in the US because they're more because they're Australian than anything else, you know. And it's great to see. It's good to see. But if you want to come over to Australia, this is the best one to come over for. It's the GeoMuster next year, in April next year. And it's going to be the Aussie. It's going to be a mega. It's going to be a mega. And I'll quickly say it's GC74CH7. You can put that in the notes. GC74CH7. And that's going to be the Aussie mega. And the best part about it for you guys is that it's only like an hour and a half drive north of Sydney. Okay. So Sydney's the major, obviously, city and airport. Everything flies into Sydney. Hire a car, bang, and you're up there. That's it. So it's going to be a great time. Yeah. And I may be on the committee too. So
there you go.
There you go.
Okay, so you say 80% of your audience is American.
Yes.
How are you promoting your periscopes? Are you planning ahead of time, saying, "Hey, at 11 o'clock in the morning local time, I'm going to do this"?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I never did initially. I never did. I just went live and that was it. And maybe because it was the time of the night or day here, but night there, where you guys are, you're sitting back watching telly, and next minute, you get a message from Periscope saying that I've gone live, and you go, "Oh, okay, we're watching," because you're not at work, for instance, and you're not asleep.
Okay, good.
A lot of the time, the UK viewers, they're sound asleep, so not a problem.
I think so. Maybe all the time in the UK. Personally,
I think so. I think so. It's the rain too. I think, and the weather. But so I never did initially, but then Periscope came up with this thing called Superfans, and so Superfans they're rewarded as a top 10 list of your people that watch you the most, that give you the hearts the most, that comment the most, and they share your broadcast with their Twitter followers, with their Facebook followers. So I've got the top 10 Superfans list. So what I did was I actually put that as a separate group. So the top 10 Superfans list as a group. I then give them 20 minutes, half an hour notice before I go live as a Superfan sort of bonus. Get ready, I'm going live in 20 minutes, that sort of thing. So even before today, for this live broadcast here today, I put it out to just the super fans saying that I'm going to be on your show. So, yeah. So I do give them the super fans notice, yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that was kind of fun to watch from this side because I'm watching you talking to the camera and seeing the camera.
Yes, exactly. So, and you find that I'm probably totally different to what I am normally.
That does tend to happen, that you build the persona for on air.
Yes, well, you have to. I think personally, in front of the camera, that you do need to have some sort of persona, and I think Edwin talks about having that sort of the broadcaster sort of look. It's all about the broadcaster. But I'd rather have someone that's energetic, someone that wants to be there and wants to do what they're doing, rather than someone who's a bit of a slow talker, boring talker, that sort of thing. So yeah, I do tend to find that I like to promote the locations in which I'm at. But in saying that, with Periscope, for instance, as well, I find that my Periscopes are dictated by the audience at that time. So if they want to see the cache, they say, show us the cache. If they want to see the view, they say, show us the view. So my Periscopes are never really planned. I don't plan them that well. You can probably tell that. But they're dictated a lot by the viewers, a lot. Because even to the point where some viewers will just sit there asking questions. So I'll have to sort of just talk to them, basically. That sort of thing. So that's what I like about Periscope, is interaction.
Exactly. I was going to say, that's the thing that I touched on earlier, actually, was the interaction that you had with the audience is what really kind of made Periscope so appealing. And Facebook Live does that as well. But it can get a little overwhelming to the point where I've been out and I can't keep up, especially if I'm like walking to the cache and trying to keep the camera steady and everything else. And you've got these tiny little bubbles just floating up. It's really hard to keep up with it. But that's what made that so special.
You don't have a gimbal mount for your cell phone?
Oh, I did. It didn't work very well, but I did, and that made it actually worse.
Yes. I tried that too with a gimbal mount for my phone, and it did. It made it worse. Yeah. So all I have now is a tripod, and so therefore I can put the camera down, the phone down somewhere. So I've got two hands in free to sign the logbook, show the signing, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's all I use now, is just the tripod.
I've got a selfie stick monopod type thing that I love to use. I have two different versions of essentially the same thing. One has the clamp for the phone. The other is just a quarter 20 mount for anything that takes a tripod. And the nice thing with that is I can hold it out and kind of get that floating look.
Yeah.
Especially with a 360, that tends to be a little bit bigger deal. And then it has the tripod on the base. So with the 360, you can't have a full tripod because you'll see it.
Yes,
so
that's right.
By having this tiny little tripod on the big monopod, that's really handy. But when you're out, just even with the cell phone, now I've got something that I can just kind of hold out there. When I get to a spot, I could put it down. It's just usually when I'm out doing caching, I don't want to carry that extra stick with me.
Yeah, exactly. The minimum, the better.
Mm-hmm. It's always something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you mentioned you don't like to do the or that you do like to give a little bit of description when it's a good place. But one of the things you mentioned was you don't get a whole lot of description of the cache and the location, that kind of thing, in so many of these videos. But the whole reason they don't do that is largely so they don't give you spoilers.
Exactly. And you'll find with any of my Periscopes, I don't give out GC codes. I don't even give out the exact location. I'll say, I'm in Sydney. Sydney's a massive place. I'll say I'm on the east coast of Australia, for goodness sake. And that's it. I do leave. So what I do, though, is I do leave my my location pinpoint on. So if people want to spoil it for themselves, they can. But at the same time, the reason why I do that is so I can actually bring in other people who are not geocachers, who are not subscribers. They can see that I've actually gone live in a particular location. They want to see parts of Australia where I am, so they'll click on it from there as well. So, yeah, but I never say GC codes or anything.
Yeah, and I don't do that generally unless I've gotten permission or I know the CO and I've gotten a blanket. Sometimes I will actually kind of spoil it if it's something that's known and obvious, where it's not so much going to spoil it. You know, if you've got a great cache that's been out for, 4 or 5 years, it's a destination cache, you're not really spoiling it. Yeah, I'll go ahead and put that out there.
Yep.
But generally on the live stream, you don't get the chance to ask for approval.
No,
So
no, not at all.
You don't want to really spoil it.
Yes, yeah. But I find as well with being live like that as well is that I tend to find I know my COs around here. I've been geocaching enough in this area that I know the COs. I know if the COs are good or if they're not good with me periscoping. There's one particular CO that he had a big go at me about it, and so therefore on every single one of his caches in the description he's put no periscopes, no live feeds, no this, no that, no photos, like the whole lot. And sometimes the description is now 3 times as long as what it was originally because of his spoiler rant. And you know what? I just go there, I find the cache myself, I just click tick, TFTC, see you later, next one. It doesn't worry me.
Well, and that does bring up a good point is whenever you're going to do anything like this, make sure you read the logs, including posting photos with your logs. Because there are some people who really don't want anything in there like that.
And I find that a lot of old school geocaches are like that too.
Yeah, it's real hit and miss. That I found. It's some people who spend a lot more time on their caches care a lot more than the people who tend to put out just your plain and simple hides.
Yes, definitely.
But the more hides they have, it's like you get this continuum. They don't put out a whole lot, but they put a lot of effort into it. They love the publicity. They love getting people to the cache because that's what it's about. It's getting people to the cache for them. So it's advertising for the cache.
Exactly.
People who don't put out the effort, don't maybe put out as many as some of the others, but they don't want it spoiled. And then I've got the other end of it where they're putting out hundreds of caches a year. And they're like, no, go ahead and do it because, I just want people to go caching.
Exactly. And as you said, I think we talked about earlier on, Daryl, as well, is that if the idea of the live periscopes and the live feeds, if you're over in America and it's midnight over there or whatnot, and it's pouring down rain and you want that geocaching fix, which it happens quite a lot. I know it happens to me. Jump online, you get a live periscope from Australia, for instance, and you got your geocaching fix. You can see, the area, you can see the cache itself, and you grab the find, have a chat to someone else in the other side of the world. It's great.
Yeah, and you get to go out and live vicariously through that hunt. And as with like Periscope and the Facebook Live, you get that interaction almost like you're caching with someone else. It's not nearly as good because you don't have the extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
But it gives you that camaraderie that you might not get without it.
Exactly. And see, I do a lot of solo geocaching. So I'm on a streak at the moment. So it's 630 odd days streak at the moment. It's just ridiculous. But I do a lot of solo geocaching. So for me to do a live periscope, I feel like I feel like I'm actually taking someone with me geocaching for once rather than just by myself like always. So it fills that need for me as well to have, the camaraderie of someone else there, finding the cache with me too. So it's good.
Well, one of the things that has been up and coming is an app called House Party. It's supposed to be really hot with like the kids. I've downloaded it. I've tried to actually get connected with Chris and Renee and try to run it. I've not had any experience with it because we just can't seem to get connected up. And it's not an app problem. It's a problem with timing. What was that, Chris?
Can we do it now?
Yeah. See, this is the problem. We've scheduled this time. We can do it like now in the middle of the show. I really kind of wonder if this might not be something for those who are looking for the group cache experience, because you could open up the room. Unfortunately, from what we can tell, you have to be friends. It's not a public thing.
Yep.
But you could open up the room and you can all jump in and you can go caching with your buddies that way. And it's a two-way stream again, but you're getting to talk with them and see their faces and their expressions. I just don't think it's going to be high enough quality they can really help you out with the cache. But at least you're there with them experiencing it.
That's right. And I find that with any live streaming, even Periscope, the quality is not high. It's not there. It's very pixelated. It's
Yeah, mobile
it's more,
streaming is always going
it's
to be limited.
yes, yes. And so I find that sort of thing to actually physically help with the cache by saying, you know, oh, check under those rocks there, for instance, it's never really going to happen on a live stream, you know. But in saying that, though, there's some great ideas to that 360 that you've got.
Yeah, and we want to get into that a little bit more. But before we leave with this two-way thing, one of the interesting articles I read just this week, and I wanted to drop it in the show notes, but I didn't, is apparently Instagram, which is also doing some live stream stuff, as we briefly mentioned, but they're actually going to start doing a two-way live stream where you can have essentially like a co-host. And this is something they're testing.
Really?
They're not actually opening it up to more than a few people, but that could be kind of interesting in a different sort of way.
Yes, definitely.
I don't think it's really going to do much unless you have like, oh, you know, George is laid up in bed because he's had some surgery and he wants to experience cash. Okay, now I'm going to go out with Instagram. We're going to live stream it. He gets to tell me what to do. That could be kind of cool. But what about like a race situation? You know,
race.
Yeah. Chris and I are going to go race for a cache. Who can get the first to find quicker?
Are we racing to like Kansas? That's about even between us.
Well, yeah. I don't know that you'd want to do it in the same area, but something of that kind of nature. Hey, we've picked out this cache that's roughly the same terrain, roughly the same distance. Let's go for it.
Yep.
You know, you can't do it obviously from the car because among other things, it'd be way too slow.
Yes, definitely.
So I think there's some more interesting things that might happen with the live streaming in the future.
Definitely. Oh, well, I know with Periscope that I tried a little bit there with the dual camera Periscope. You seen that one with the like a GoPro, so you can link a GoPro up to your to Periscope through Wi-Fi. And what I've done a few times there is actually have the GoPro sitting separately near at GZ, and then I use obviously my phone, and then I flick between myself, my phone, and the GoPro to show the wide angle lens, and then that's not too bad. That's something different.
That's pretty cool. And because it's the GoPro, I was actually able to like stick it into the tree one time, and you get to do some extra stuff. The problem when I did it was you couldn't switch microphones. It always switched. You couldn't lock it on the microphone for the camera.
Yes, I was going to say that was the only issue that I had. The microphone went with the camera.
But supposedly that has been addressed.
Okay.
So I have not tried it.
I think it has because of the drone scopes now you see as well. You see a lot of drone scopes now.
Yep.
And so they have the microphone obviously with them, but the audio, the visual is from the drone. So
right. Yeah, and that's one of the cool things that they've done. And Periscope also has some tools now on the desktop, so you can live stream from a laptop computer with a better internet connection. But the problem that I've always had with Periscope has been its low quality video. It's basically like VHS quality.
Yeah,
it definitely looks better than VHS, but resolution wise, it's about there. YouTube is much higher quality when streaming mobile. And if you're set up with YouTube, you can, with a heavy duty internet connection, you can go 4K live streams. And from what I understand, they actually have some partners doing even higher than that. There are some of the 360 cameras that people have been doing live stream testing at 5.6 and even up to 8K for the pro ones.
Wow. That's incredible.
And that resolution becomes a big deal when you're talking about that 360 stuff.
Yes.
360, it sounds like 4K is a lot, but in reality, that's not very much.
No, not when it comes to 360.
No, and right now, when you're dealing with the 360 video, your live stream options are Facebook Live, who just announced a new program for 4K VR. There's YouTube, which does do 4K VR. than Periscope, which does a much lower resolution. And in my experience, the Periscope is the only one that actually really works from the field. YouTube, because it's that higher resolution, chokes too much and needs too much bandwidth. So the Periscope's the only one that works. But the problem that I have, I'm using the Insta360 Nano, which needs its own app. You can't use the Periscope app. So I get none of that interaction, which really makes it kind of boring.
Yes. From a broadcaster point of view, definitely. I find the interaction the most satisfying as a broadcaster.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just...
It's
otherwise,
not
that's right. Otherwise, I would just do an actual YouTube video clip with editing and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
You know?
And the whole point of the live stream is you're out there. It's that interaction. It's that excitement. You know, it might be different for like an event. I could see live streaming an event because then other people are able to witness it. You know, I'd love to do a live stream from the going caching event. That's not going to happen because there's just not enough reliable bandwidth there to be had. So if anything, I'm going to do that as a recorded thing. But it's that interaction, that live the moment that is what makes the live stream. Otherwise, just record it, post it. You're going to get a much better quality video that way.
Definitely. See, I find, but I actually find that having live as well and not having the edit gives you more of a personalized sort of video. In other words, it's like you and I now, we're chatting to each other live. You can see me live. I'm not edited. I'm not, you know, I make mistakes, for instance. You know, I say things that are silly. I say things or do things that you shouldn't or not ordinarily cut out. But but having that live gives that more personal effect. Definitely.
Right. And you can, there's a lot of the videos on YouTube that are done that way. And I've done a couple, and I'll post some notes, some links to some of the stuff that I've done so people can check out the 360 stuff. I did one on Periscope that I'll post a link to that was the best of the 360 Periscopes that I've done, but that was a live one. The YouTube live that I tried just fell apart. I'll link to that one so you can see how bad that one turned out. And then a couple that I did on YouTube from the Gear 360, which is a 4K camera. One I did in just the 2.5K or whatever they call it, because that actually works better because it's a full 30 frames a second and doesn't have the tearing. But the quarterback cache one, which is an awesome cache, you definitely want to check it out just to see the cache. That's done in 4K, which is only 24 frames a second, and you'll see some tearing in it. So if you have a lot of motion, it doesn't look so good, and it will actually make people seasick. But I didn't finish the whole thing with the resolution. I apologize. The resolution is a really big thing with this 360 because, yes, it sounds like 4K is big. However, that's 4K that's spread out and stretched across the entire world all around you. What you're actually looking at is a very, very small piece of that. So when you actually bring up the viewer on your computer or on your phone, and I would recommend doing it on the phone if you don't have like the goggles or something, the phone is still a better experience because it has the gyroscopes. It will interact with you where you can spin around and look up and down. So you're not sitting there with your fingers, though you can sit there with your fingers and pan around. And don't do tall. Make sure to turn it wide because that's the way your eyes work, and tall kind of screws up your senses a bit. And you'll get more of the distortion. But when you're looking through that tiny little window, instead of having 4K, you're looking at more like a 480 or maybe even a 720 section of that frame because it has to stretch all of that world out across that 4K and then give you that tiny little window, which is what you normally would see through that window that is your phone.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Limax says I should put the Detroit Zoo 360s in the show notes. And that was actually done with the older camera, which is only a 1080. I got kind of into the video stuff through that, but I instantly knew, like the first video I did with that one, I tried to find a cache. It was impossible, even though this is like a bright yellow container. you couldn't see the container in the video until we were right up on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So no, 1080 is not enough to do it. But I love the whole concept of we're going to go out on a hunt for a cache. Come along with us.
That's right.
And I like, again, even if I'm not going to do a live stream of it, I like the live video concept to give people an idea of what it's really like going for a cache. Ideally,
Sure.
I want a little mount like over my shoulder so that you're feeling kind of like you're a part of the party. You're just walking along with us. You know, you're not in front of me. You're following me along because obviously you can't control what's happening.
Yep.
But I still have some issues with that concept because I'm controlling the view as I move around. And it's kind of one of those things we're going to have to learn what actually works and works best. I'm saying I like this idea of over the shoulder, kind of get the feel, you can look around. But if you were truly part of the group, you'd be moving on your own and looking around. So it probably makes more sense to have the camera in a stationary position while you're moving toward the cache or whatever, and not ever turn.
Yes.
And then
exactly
the
right.
the viewer has to move around and watch.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
So that I think makes more sense, but that's a lot more difficult.
Yes.
We need like the little follow along drones to do the 360 for us.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's what you're saying as well, is that I find with the 360s, the best way to do it would be to get to GZ first and then set it up and then basically then go live or whatever and yeah, say, come on, have a look around for me. You guys have a look too. And so you get people interacting by actually moving around themselves in their own sort of surroundings, their own lounge rooms, for instance, but they're on a cache hunt with you. It's great.
Yeah, this is a new aspect that hasn't really been explored well yet, but they're using them at concerts a lot now. They're doing all kinds of stuff has been popping up in the VR streams because now you take a little camera and like the Gear 360, the 2017 edition is actually a really good little camera despite its shortcoming, and it's under $200.
Yeah.
This is something that you can afford to use. It doesn't work for the live streaming unless you're on specific Galaxy phones. Or
Yep.
you could tether to a laptop, but that's not really what we want to do if we're out in the field. So it doesn't work for iOS users. It doesn't work for most Android users. The Insta360 is supposed to be one of the better ones that does do the live streaming right now for iOS. They have the Nano, and for Android, they have, and I totally blanked on what the name is, but I'm going to call it the Fly because I think that's what they call it. And I do like the Android version better because it's a little sphere rather than the big bulky thing that plugs into the phone.
Yeah.
But in both cases, they make you turn your phone upside down.
Yeah, but the app is also upside down with it.
Yes, the app is upside down. It's just very hard to deal with the upside down phone, especially if you want to put that on a tripod.
Yes.
Now, Wits End has one of these Insta360s.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, the sphere plugs right into the phone. It works well. I mean, it's not great. You know, you get the problem of any 360 cameras. You've got to walk right up to whatever you're looking at. Otherwise, it looks too far away to view.
Yeah, you're talking about fisheye lenses.
Yeah.
And you can't get too close or you'll get a ton of distortion.
Mhm.
But you have to be close enough that people can see it.
So, you know, you take any phone case or any phone holder that just squeezes the side of the phone, and it's great. It doesn't matter if it's right side up or upside down.
Yeah, that works for that one. But with the Nano for the iOS devices, you've got this big block that comes down the back, almost the whole back, and the only part of the phone it leaves exposed are where your buttons are. So if you got one of those side grip ones, it's going to be pressing on the buttons. So yeah, I have like a little clamp that goes on the bottom, but that scares me a little bit because it's a clamp that goes on the bottom, well, on the top of the phone. But you know, it's just this little space. What I really want to do is get my 3D printer working again and just design a little base for it that it can slot into. Something that's going to give it a little bit more stability, because this clamp has nothing at the sides. It's just a tiny little spot. So it works on just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you have this little spot in the nut that you have to turn is in the frame.
I forgot to mention that the Insta360 for Android, is micro USB, but it comes with a stock to plug in the micro USB into a full-size USB, so you can use it on a laptop as well.
Yeah, and the Insta does the same basic thing, except it's a female micro USB, so you plug in the cable and you can use it.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing, getting into probably more specifics than we really should about the individual cameras, with the Insta360 is it has, at least for the Nano, excellent stabilization, because when it's plugged in, it's using the gyroscopes in the phone. And it is stabilizing the image based on the 6-axis gyroscopes in the phone. So it's doing a better job of stabilizing than most of the other cameras can. Its microphones are doo-doo.
I'm sorry, Daryl. What was that again? I missed that word.
Do.
Not good.
No, it is really, really bad. I've seen worse, to be honest, but it is not good. You can talk to it, but you have to be like right up on it before you hear it. And they're just, tiny little microphones. The Gear 360, the 2017 edition, does do a better job with the audio. It has the wind cut stuff, but my experience with that hasn't been very good either. It's just kind of the nature of these tiny little cameras that you're not going to get good audio, especially when you have the wind. And with the 360s, you can't really put the windscreens on those because they'll show up in the video.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I suppose that's the negative with 360s as well. Is a lot with just your normal camera, your normal phone, you can hide things, things that aren't behind the camera that you can't see. Whereas with the 360, everything's going to be seen. So,
Absolutely.
So if your cash buddy's picking their nose, everyone's going to see it.
Yeah, you have to really watch what you're doing on the 360.
Exactly.
But the Reiko, which is the first 360 camera that I actually hadn't played with the video on, was the Theta S. They have a new camera coming that they've been leaking out some of the details. It's going to be 4K, and the word is it's going to have an audio jack on it as well. So you could actually hook up a good microphone. That is getting really enticing. It's also going to support the live streaming. So this is sounding more like a camera that people are going to be able to get and actually make good use of. It's not going to be just your basic point and shoot that we've seen with all of the other affordable cameras so far. And, Garmin has one out now. The new Kodak camera is supposed to be pretty good, but these are mostly cameras at the $500 or more price point. And even those don't seem to have the audio jacks. Oh, and we can't forget GoPro is coming out with one. I think their target was later this year, but it's already in the hands of some of the influencers. They're trying to get more insight into how it's working with the live streaming, get some beta testing done that way, I'm sure. But it is a nice, promising camera, but the price point is going to be a little much for most of us, I think. They were talking in one article, they were expected it to be close to $1,000. Some of the others are saying, well, they can't really sell it if it's more than about $600. So who knows where it's actually going to come in, but it is going to be one of those $500 or more cameras.
See, and you guys over there, you talk about something costing $1,000. What's $1,000 over there is $1,500 here in Australia.
Right. Or in Canada, more like $2,000.
Yeah. So it's it's harder over here when it comes to technology stuff and to grab things. Even like with the DJI Mavics and whatever else as well. Like talking about drones and whatnot. Yeah, they're almost double the price here compared to what they are in the States. So
yeah, I actually bought a Zoom H4n for one of the podcasters over there and shipped it to him. Yeah, because it was just like cheap compared to what he could buy it for. I want to say I paid under $200 for it, and the cheapest price you could find was like $650 there.
Yep, that's right. The only downside to that would be the warranty side of things.
Right. Yeah, it's not something that we generally recommend doing, but let's face it, a lot of people do.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, like that's another thing with the live streaming and whatnot as well, is that you make friends across the other side of the world. Like there's people that follow me on Periscope and whatnot. Cashing Dead New York, I think he's even been watching this live as well. Mm-hmm. He's one of the ones. He's in the chat, yeah, and he starts to do periscopes as well, and mind you, he does periscopes at midnight there, so I think he's a night owl. But yeah, so things like that, you meet people from the other side of the world whom, when I do come to America, and I will come to America sometime, as you said, like you guys and your bucket list, it's on mine. So when I do come there, I've got so many people to meet there. It's incredible. Like I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah, you'll need a couple of months just to travel around and connect with everyone.
I will, 100%. I'll go to all your megas that you have over there. You have so many megas over there. It's incredible.
Oh, come over anytime. We'll just throw a mega for you. They just pop up all the time.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen one of my videos where I went to in April this year. I went to the Alice Springs, the Red Center event, which is supposed to be maybe becoming a mega, but it didn't make it. But that was in the middle of Australia. I travelled for that 3 weeks to get there, or to get a round trip on my motorbike just to go to an event, and it still wasn't a mega. So,
wow.
Yep.
Well, getting back to the live streaming though, because we should probably wrap this up. I have to admit that I have not been watching the live streams like I used to. And a lot of it is just the people that I had watched dropped off, but it is so inconvenient to find the live streams and go to them like right at that moment, because it always ends up like I'm in the middle of a meeting, or I'm taking the dog to the vet. That's when they happen to pop up when I'm doing something and can't jump in.
Exactly. I think that's what Edwin said as well, about being inconvenience times.
And I end up not being able to go back and watch the live stream or recorded stream of that. And a lot of it is I just don't care because the quality isn't there. And if it's not live, I'm not really interested in doing that. So
I do find
one of the downsides.
That's right. I do find with my periscopes, because obviously you can have the replay. But I find that it's about on par with the amount of live viewers compared to the replay viewers. So it's normally the live viewers are more than what the replay viewers are. And the only reason why some of them replay is because they do a replay to tap the hearts because they want to be a super fan. See? So it's like a competitive nature for them, which is good. But
interesting.
Yeah, definitely. If you can't watch something live like that, then it's very rare that you're going to watch it in replay.
Well, and on YouTube, I find that I get almost no live viewers, but I get a lot of replay viewers. And again, I think there's a difference in the platform. Periscope, it's all about the live.
Yeah.
YouTube, a lot of people don't realize that there's live. I mean, aside from the people who are actually watching and listening to this podcast live, I'll make a bet most geocachers don't really know that there's a live streaming option on YouTube, let alone one that you can do from your phone, because that's only been out for 4 or 5 months.
That's right. Yeah, they trialed it first. I know Joshua Johnson, the vlogger, he got access to it, one of the first ones, because he's got over 40,000 subscribers. So they gave it to the larger based sort of vloggers first, and before they let it go to others. But I wasn't even aware that you could do it now if you only got 400 odd followers like me.
Right. Well, we've been able to do that from the desktop for a long time. You could do the YouTube producer app on the, there were APIs, so you could do all kinds of stuff from like the laptop in the field, but you had to have the laptop in the field. Now
Yeah,
you can do it from the phone.
That's the whole thing. It's the portability of it all. That's what you need. You know, as you said, you can't take a laptop out in the Aussie bush. You can take a phone.
Well, I'm thinking something like a Surface Book might be nice for doing the live stream from the bush.
Ooh.
Yeah, it could be. It could be quite nice.
You just need a heck of a lot better data connection than you can probably get out there.
Yeah, that's right. We're lucky to get 3G when it comes to any bush areas here. It's
Yeah,
just,
you could go for like the satellite phones, but those make 2G look fast.
look good. Exactly. Well, there was times there when on my trip around Australia that I went 2 days without any signal whatsoever on my phone, like for an entire 2 days of my trip. You know, so that was incredible as well. So it just shows you how sparse our sort of area is here.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right. I think we better wrap it up, though, because we're at the 50-minute mark. So, Michelle, why don't you tell us where you can be found? And, of course, we'll link to those in the show notes.
Yeah, of course. Well, I've got YouTube, I've got Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, and it's all the Aussie Geocacher See Michelle. It's all the same thing. So, but Periscope is probably my best one to catch me live. But YouTube, if you want to just watch some YouTube clips, then I'll probably do maybe once or twice a month. I do some YouTube clips, but otherwise, Periscope's almost daily now. So,
excellent.
Yeah, Periscope's the biggest one, I think.
And I would turn those on, except I'm afraid that I'll get notifications while I'm trying to sleep.
Oh, that's a possibility, but that's okay. I'm not sure if your wife would understand, but.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on, especially at such a convenient time this time. It always seems like the time zones mess things up.
Extremely convenient. And thanks for having me, Daryl and Chris. Thank you so much.
Oh, anytime. Thank you. And also, we get to see you on the Geocaching International Film Festival. Did you put in an entry this year?
Oh, of course I did. So crossing fingers and legs and arms that I've got that one on board, but we'll see. I did actually make a bit of a what you call a boo-boo with it, and that is I actually wore this shirt. Now, it's got a logo on it. Even though it's geocaching promoted logo, they say in the rules and regulations no logo is allowed. So I then had to spend several hours going through frame by frame by frame, blurring the logo. So, yes, but hopefully, cross fingers, it gets through, but we'll soon see. I know there's going to be a lot out there, which is pretty cool. I love the videos, and the more people do it, the better it is.
Exactly.
Well, they've started taking the GIF event applications, if you will. So I'm hoping that we'll have at least 2 of them out here again, because I want to go to them twice.
Yes.
Because you got to watch the videos twice.
You do. And in actual fact, I've said this to other people who've asked me as well, and that is if I don't obviously get selected, then you'll find it on my YouTube channel anyway, this year's subscription. So I'll chuck it on there. So if I don't get selected, it'll be on my YouTube channel. So yeah, you'll get it either way. Either way, you'll get it sometime.
Well, I'm looking forward to it in the GIF reel in November.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris, and so am I. We just got to tell those lackeys. And
you'll enjoy the free membership for a year or whatever it is.
Yeah, 12 months free membership. That's what it is. That whole, mind you, $30 US for us is $50. So that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, that makes it worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the GeoCoin's pretty cool too. They send you out a GeoCoin, which is really cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Chris, did you know that I've already scheduled all of the shows through episode 300?
What, Daryl? What are you doing?
Yeah, I figured we had to schedule show 300.
Yes. We have to plan show 300. It just won't happen on its own.
Yeah, but it's going to be another randomized show. So hopefully we'll get a lot of people sending in good questions, comments, that kind of stuff for that show. But there's a whole bunch of other shows before that.
Oh,
so next week
going to jump right to 300?
No, I was thinking about it though. We've got our guest tonight from the future. I figured, we just have to tweak this a little bit more, and we can just skip all these other shows.
So technically, this is next week's show.
Yeah, I guess it is. So yeah, but then we're going backward in time, and that makes it even harder.
The time travel.
But yeah, we could deprive everyone of the great content that we've got coming up, because like next week, Nick is going to join us talk about Cachly 3.0.
Oh, I'll definitely be joining up for that.
That's not 3.0 anymore. I don't remember what it's at because it just got another update today.
Yes.
Then the following week for episode 295, we're going to be talking with the Going Caching crew about Going Caching 2017. That one always gets a lot of feedback, so make sure to get that in. And remarkably, right now, I think we only have one email for that show so far.
Well, get it in. Get your email in. Right now, we will definitely ask your question.
Yeah, as of right now, we will definitely ask your question. We don't know if
and you might answer it too, maybe. See the benefits of live broadcast. There you go. You have it in one.
And then on the 31st is our next randomized show, which is just LX. Nothing special this time, just LX. So join us for that one on the 31st, and send in any of your questions, comments, that kind of stuff, because that's where all of those end up. Limax, by the way, says it's Cachly 303.
Ooh. Ah, 303.
And then on September 7th, we're going to have Geo Live on again with their new version 8. So we've got a couple of the caching apps, one for iOS and one for Android, coming up in the next 4 weeks.
We keep it fair. And if you have a Windows phone, we're sorry.
No, we're not. Buy a real phone.
Exactly. But we want you to make sure to check the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cacheamaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cacheamaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2017 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cache with the Cacheamaniac.